careful, don't be too critical. And I said, well, I'm not going to be critical, but I'm going to put on my independent hat for a minute. So I'm not going to get any of the Democratic Party officials in trouble, but I think it's important to point out a few differences between the vice presidential candidate that the Republicans are presenting and the vice presidential candidate that we're presenting. Now, again, one of the things that bothers me is that the fact that Governor Palin talks about she's ready to be the vice president because she's been a mayor. And that's something I want to talk about just for a minute. Now, I've never been to Wasilla, Alaska, and I'm sure it's a nice little town. In fact, it's so little we can invite them all to sit down in the Chevrolet Center. We probably still have room left over. And again, I'm sure she was a fine mayor, but let me talk about preparation, real world preparation. I did a little investigation on Wasilla, and I would love to be the mayor of Wasilla. I could probably do it from my home and not show up to work too often, because in Wasilla, you know, they don't have a crime problem. There were 2 homicides in Wasilla in the past 13 years. Wasilla, I'm sure it's a nice town, but their average income is above the national average of what all of us are making. In Wasilla, the median average price for a house is $200,000. The education, they have small student-teacher ratios. That's not the world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. You all know that here in the real world, we're struggling. Here in the real world, we have to deal with issues of crime and poverty and education. That's what happens. The other thing that she talks about is her foreign policy experience. Now, she says that she lives next door to Russia, and I don't think that really counts. That would be the equivalent of me wanting to do your heart surgery because I live next door to a doctor. It just doesn't add up. Now, being mayor is a very good preparation for a lot of things, even potentially being vice president, but only if you're the mayor and have to deal with real world issues. Now, let me talk about someone who has dealt with real world issues and who is absolutely ready to lead. Senator Joe Biden has been in the Senate for over 35 years, and he was elected at the age of 29 years old. He is absolutely recognized around the world as a leader in foreign policy and one of the nation's most influential voices on terrorism, drug policies, and crime. Nationally, Senator Biden has a reputation. When I talked about those Republicans being good people, we still have to work with them. He has a national reputation of knowing how to reach across the aisle and work with the other party. Now let me talk for a minute about the Biden crime bill. This is one of the most comprehensive pieces of legislation in the past decade. When we talk about dealing with real world issues, when you talk about Biden crime bill, you talk about more cops on the streets. Now I saw some of my Youngstown police officers, and I can tell you for sure, they want more cops on the streets. When you talk about Biden and Obama taking on the drug trafficking, the majority of the challenges and problems we face in Youngstown have to deal with the drug trafficking. The Biden crime bill talks about addressing drug trafficking at the federal level, not asking cities who are trying to take care of your issues to deal with issues that should be dealt with at the federal level. The Biden crime bill talks about tough prison sentences, but fair. Talks about safer communities. But at the same time, he understands that when people make mistakes, eventually they're going to come back to the community. So he talks about second chances, making sure that as they enter back into our communities, we're giving them a second chance to be productive citizens. The Biden legislation understands affordable college education, the college access. He understands the importance of after-school programs and all of those things. I guess the point I'm trying to say is that, with all due respect to the governor who is a mayor of a town that I'm sure is a nice town, we live in the real world, and we need somebody with real world experience who is ready to lead at a moment's notice. Well, that person is here. It is my privilege and my honor to someone that I met at the U.S. Mayor's Conference who understands what we need in our cities, who will work with the President Obama to make sure that these things come to Youngstown, Ohio, and cities across the nation, Senator Joseph Biden.
being late, man. Where I come from, if you have anybody stand more than 15 minutes waiting for you, you get to leave. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very